Welcome to Deep Science Sleep. Close your eyes and imagine a warm summer evening. The air is gentle and soft against your skin. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the faint rustle of leaves dancing in a breeze so light you can barely feel it. The world around you is settling into that perfect moment between day and night, when everything slows down, when everything becomes peaceful. And beside you, curled up in that special way only dogs know how to do, is your faithful companion. Their breathing is steady, rhythmic, like the gentle rolling of waves on a distant shore. Each breath in, each breath out, perfectly timed, perfectly calm. Their warmth radiates outward, a small sun of comfort and unconditional love. As you rest here together, let's explore the remarkable, soothing world of our canine friends. Let these gentle facts wash over you like a warm blanket, each one a soft pillow for your mind to rest upon as you drift towards sleep. Dogs have been our companions for so long that their presence has become woven into the very fabric of human existence. Tonight, we'll journey through the peaceful science of these remarkable creatures, discovering the calming truths that make them such perfect partners in our lives. So settle in, let your muscles relax, and allow yourself to be carried along on this tranquil exploration of man's best friend, the science of canine sleep. There's something deeply soothing about watching a dog sleep. The way they curl into themselves, finding that perfect position of comfort. The gentle rise and fall of their ribcage. The occasional twitch of a paw, as if they're running through fields we can't see. Understanding how dogs sleep helps us appreciate these quiet moments even more. And there's a beautiful science to their slumber that mirrors our own in the most comforting ways. Dogs sleep, on average, between 12 and 14 hours each day. Puppies and senior dogs may sleep even longer, sometimes up to 18 or 20 hours, their bodies wisely taking the rest they need for growth or gentle aging. This isn't laziness. It's nature's perfect design. Unlike humans, who consolidate most of their sleep into one long nighttime period, dogs are polyphasic sleepers. They cycle through periods of wakefulness and sleep throughout the entire day and night, catching rest whenever their bodies tell them it's time. The architecture of canine sleep follows a pattern remarkably similar to our own. Dogs move through stages of drowsiness, light sleep, deep sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep just as we do. But here's where it gets interesting, where the science becomes almost meditative in its rhythm. A dog's complete sleep cycle lasts only about 20 minutes, compared to our 90-minute human cycles. In that brief span, they travel through all the stages we experience, but at their own faster pace, like a time-lapse video of consciousness and unconsciousness playing out in beautiful repetition. During these 20-minute cycles, dogs spend approximately 6 minutes in rapid eye movement sleep. This is when dreaming happens, when their closed eyes move rapidly beneath their lids, when their breathing becomes shallow and irregular, when their muscles twitch and their paws paddle through invisible landscapes. The remaining 14 minutes are spent in drowsy states and slow wave sleep, that deep, restorative phase where their bodies repair themselves, where their immune systems strengthen, where their memories consolidate and organize. The reason dogs need more total sleep time than humans is fascinating and speaks to the different ways our nervous systems operate. While humans spend about 25% of our sleep in rapid eye movement cycles, dogs only spend about 10% of their sleep in this deepest, most restorative stage. This means they need to sleep longer overall to accumulate the same amount of that crucial REM sleep. It's like they're working with a different exchange rate, needing more hours to get the same quality rest that humans achieve in fewer hours. Research into canine sleep has revealed that dogs truly do dream, and the evidence is both scientific and beautiful. Scientists have monitored the brain activity of sleeping dogs using electroencephalography, placing gentle sensors on their scalps to listen to the electrical symphony of their sleeping minds. What they discovered is that during REM sleep, dogs' brains show patterns of activity remarkably similar to the patterns seen in dreaming humans. High-frequency, low-amplitude brain waves dance across the monitors, the same signatures we see in our own dreaming minds. But what do dogs dream about? While we can never know for certain, research on other animals provides compelling clues. Studies on rats showed that when these small creatures slept after running through mazes, their brains replayed the exact patterns of activity from their waking maze-running experience. The researchers could actually tell where in the maze the rats were in their dreams by matching brain activity patterns. If rats dream about their daily activities in such specific detail, it seems reasonable to conclude that dogs do the same. So when you watch your dog's legs twitching in sleep, when you see their lips move as if they're barking at something only they can see, when their whole body seems to be engaged in some invisible activity, they're likely reliving their day. They might be chasing that squirrel they saw in the park, their dream legs carrying them at impossible speeds through dream grass. They might be playing with their favorite toy, dream jaws catching it over and over in perfect, weightless repetition. They might be walking beside you, your dream presence as real to them as your physical presence is during waking hours. Research has shown that different sizes of dogs have different dream patterns, and there's something wonderfully soothing about these variations. Small dogs like toy poodles may dream every 10 minutes, but each dream lasts only about 1 minute. Large dogs like Labrador retrievers might only dream once every 60 to 90 minutes, but when they do, their dreams can last 5 to 10 minutes. It's as if nature has calibrated their unconscious experiences to match their physical size, giving bigger dogs longer, more elaborate dream adventures. Puppies dream more frequently than adult dogs, and this makes perfect sense when you consider how much new information they're processing every single day. Every smell is new, every sight is novel, every sound is a discovery. Their young brains have so much to sort through, so many experiences to catalog and understand. Sleep becomes their classroom, and dreams become their study hall, where all the lessons of the day get reviewed and filed away into long-term memory. The similarity between dog and human sleep isn't coincidental. We've lived together for so long, shared so many generations, that our sleep patterns may have actually influenced each other. Dogs have adapted to human schedules, becoming more active during the day and sleeping more at night, even though their wild ancestors followed different rhythms. This adaptation speaks to the deep connection between our species, the way dogs have literally changed their biological clocks to stay in sync with ours. There's something called REM atonia that occurs in both dogs and humans during the dreaming phase of sleep. This is a temporary paralysis of the major muscle groups, a safety mechanism built into our nervous systems to prevent us from physically acting out our dreams. The pons, a part of the brainstem, sends signals during REM sleep that essentially tell the body to remain still, even as the brain is creating vivid, active dream scenarios. Without this mechanism, we'd all be walking, running, and moving around while unconscious, which would be dangerous. In dogs, this REM autonomy isn't quite as complete as it is in humans, which is why we can see those adorable twitches and movements. Puppies and senior dogs often show even more movement during their dreams because the pons isn't working as efficiently. In puppies, it's not yet fully developed. In senior dogs, it may have lost some of its effectiveness with age. So those gentle movements we see aren't the dog fighting their sleep paralysis. They're just the natural leakage of dream activity into physical space, a small window into the invisible world where their consciousness is playing. Scientists have even temporarily disabled the pons in sleeping dogs under controlled laboratory conditions to see what would happen if the safety mechanism was removed. What they observed was remarkable. The dogs began to physically act out their dreams. Pointer dogs went on point, holding that classic hunting stance even while completely asleep. Other breeds chased, retrieved, and performed the behaviors they were bred for, all while their conscious minds were switched off. It was as if their dreams contained the entire playbook of their breed's ancestral activities. And when given the chance, their bodies eagerly performed these ancient scripts. The amount and quality of sleep a dog gets directly affects their health, mood, and behavior when they're awake. Dogs who don't get enough sleep can become irritable, just like humans. They may have difficulty learning new commands or remembering training. Their immune systems may weaken, making them more susceptible to illness. On the other hand, dogs who get plenty of quality sleep tend to be happier, more balanced, and more responsive to their humans. Creating a good sleep environment for a dog is an act of love that pays dividends in their well-being. A comfortable bed that supports their joints, placed in a quiet area away from excessive noise and foot traffic, allows them to cycle through their sleep stages without interruption. Some dogs prefer to sleep in small, den-like spaces that make them feel safe and protected, echoing the preferences of their ancient wolf ancestors who sought out small caves and hollowed spaces for rest. The temperature of the sleeping environment matters too. Dogs have a higher body temperature than humans, typically around 101 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. They prefer slightly cooler sleeping spaces than we might, which is why you'll often see them seeking out cool floors or lying near doorways where air circulates. In winter, though, they appreciate warmth, and many dogs will seek out sunny spots or warm blankets, their bodies knowing exactly what they need for optimal comfort. When dogs sleep near their human companions, something beautiful happens. Their sleep cycles can actually synchronize with ours to some degree. They learn when we typically sleep and adjust their own deeper sleep periods to match, even though they'll still take naps throughout the day. This synchronization is part of the pack mentality that's wired into their DNA. In wild canine groups, coordinated sleep patterns help ensure that someone is always alert enough to detect danger. And they've brought this instinct into our homes, where we become their pack. The extraordinary canine knows. If there's one sense that defines a dog's experience of the world, it's their sense of smell. While we humans navigate life primarily through vision, dogs live in a universe of scent that's so rich, so detailed, so impossibly complex that we can barely imagine it. Understanding the extraordinary capabilities of the canine nose opens a window into a completely different way of perceiving reality, and there's something deeply calming about contemplating this alternative form of awareness. A dog's nose contains between 100 million and 300 million olfactory receptors, depending on the breed. To put this in perspective, humans have about 6 million olfactory receptors. This means that even the least scent-oriented dog has roughly 17 times more smell receptors than a human. And breeds like bloodhounds, with their 300 million receptors, have 50 times more. It's not just about quantity, though. The part of a dog's brain dedicated to analyzing smells is about 40 times larger than the corresponding part of the human brain. Where humans devote about 5% of our brain to processing odors, dogs devote about 33%. A full third of their brain is a smell processing computer. The surface area of a dog's olfactory epithelium, the specialized tissue that contains all those scent receptors, is approximately 10 times larger than a human's. If you could unfold this tissue and lay it flat, it would cover an area about the size of a pocket handkerchief in dogs, compared to the size of a postage stamp in humans. Every molecule of odor that enters a dog's nose has 10 times more surface area to interact with, 10 times more sensory cells to stimulate, 10 times more opportunities to be detected and analyzed. But the architecture of a dog's nose is even more sophisticated than simple numbers suggest. When a dog inhales, the airflow splits into two separate pathways. One pathway goes directly to the olfactory epithelium in the upper part of the nasal cavity, where it can be analyzed for scent information. The other pathway goes to the lungs for respiration. This separation means that dogs can simultaneously breathe and smell without one function interfering with the other. It's like having a dedicated scent lane that's always open for business, regardless of what the rest of the respiratory system is doing. Even more remarkably, when a dog exhales, the spent air doesn't exit the same way it came in. Instead, it flows out through small slits on the sides of the nose. This creates a circular flow pattern where fresh, scent-laden air is constantly being drawn into the olfactory region while used air is expelled elsewhere. The exiting air actually creates small swirling currents that help draw new air into the nose, making each sniff more efficient than the last. Dogs can maintain this continuous circulation of air, sniffing almost constantly, where humans have to pause between inhalations. When a search and rescue dog is working, they can inhale and exhale up to 300 times per minute while actively sniffing. For context, a healthy adult human can manage about 60 breaths per minute even during intense exercise. This rapid-fire sampling of the air allows dogs to build an incredibly detailed olfactory map of their environment in real time, updating their understanding of the scent landscape with every fraction of a second that passes. Dogs also have something called a vomeronasal organ, or Jacobson's organ, that humans lack in any functional form. This specialized structure is located above the roof of the mouth, opening into the nasal cavity. It's specifically designed to detect pheromones, those chemical signals that animals use to communicate information about their emotional state, reproductive status, and identity. When you see a dog curl back their upper lip in that funny face called the flamen response, they're actually opening up the passages to the vomeronasal organ, allowing pheromones to reach the specialized detector. The precision of a dog's nose is almost beyond comprehension. They can detect certain substances at concentrations as low as 1 part per trillion. To visualize this, imagine a single drop of a substance dissolved in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of water. A dog could detect that single drop. They can smell things that our most sophisticated scientific instruments struggle to measure. This isn't magic. It's biology operating at an almost miraculous level of sensitivity. Dogs don't just smell better than us. They smell differently. Each of their nostrils can work independently, picking up slightly different information from the environment. This stereo smelling allows them to determine the direction a scent is coming from, much like our two ears allow us to localize sounds. If a scent is stronger in the right nostril, the source is likely to the right. If it's stronger in the left nostril, the source is to the left. This directional information helps them track scents to their source with remarkable precision. Research has shown that dogs can even smell in layers, separating out individual components from complex odor mixtures. Where humans might smell spaghetti sauce as a single unified aroma, a dog can separately detect the tomatoes, garlic, onions, basil, oregano, and meat, each as distinct entities. They can smell the passage of time itself in some cases, detecting how old a scent trail is by how the volatile compounds have degraded and dispersed. This is how tracking dogs can follow trails that are hours or even days old, reconstructing the invisible path someone walked long after they've gone. The practical applications of this extraordinary scent ability are both impressive and comforting. Detection dogs can be trained to find explosives, drugs, and contraband with a reliability that exceeds mechanical sensors. They can locate people buried under rubble after earthquakes, swimming in the ocean after accidents, or lost in vast wilderness areas. Their noses can mean the difference between life and death in countless situations. Medical detection dogs represent one of the most fascinating applications of canine scent abilities. These specially trained dogs can detect changes in human body chemistry that signal various diseases and medical conditions. Dogs have been trained to detect certain cancers, including ovarian, prostate, lung, and skin cancers, by smelling breath samples or skin swabs. The accuracy rates in some studies have exceeded 90%, rivaling or surpassing some conventional medical tests. Diabetic alert dogs can smell the chemical changes that occur when a person's blood sugar drops dangerously low, often alerting their human companion before the person even feels symptoms. This early warning can prevent diabetic emergencies and provide peace of mind to people living with this condition. Similarly, dogs have been trained to detect the onset of seizures in epileptic patients, though the exact mechanism isn't fully understood. Some researchers believe they're detecting subtle changes in behavior or body chemistry that occur before a seizure begins. During recent years, researchers have even explored whether dogs can detect viral infections like malaria and COVID-19 through smell alone. The preliminary results have been encouraging, suggesting that dogs might be able to screen large numbers of people quickly and non-invasively, identifying those who need further testing. The sensitivity and speed of a dog's nose could potentially become a valuable tool in managing infectious disease outbreaks. The wetness of a dog's nose isn't just coincidentally cute. It serves important functions in their scent detection system. The moisture on the nose helps capture scent particles from the air, dissolving them so they can more easily reach the olfactory receptors. A wet nose is a more efficient nose. This is why dogs will lick their noses when they become dry, maintaining the optimal level of moisture for scent detection. They're not being vain. They're maintaining their primary sensor. Dogs also use their sense of smell to understand and navigate their social world. When two dogs meet and engage in that elaborate sniffing ritual, they're not just being polite. They're gathering a wealth of information about each other. Age, sex, health status, emotional state, diet, where the other dog has been, and who they've been with can all be gleaned from scent. It's like reading a detailed biography, except it's transmitted through chemical signals instead of words. Even the way dogs perceive their human companions is heavily influenced by smell. Brain imaging studies have shown that when dogs smell their owner's scent, specific regions of their brain associated with positive emotions and reward processing light up with activity. The scent of a familiar, beloved human triggers happiness in a dog's brain at a neurological level. Your smell is literally rewarding to your dog, activating the same pleasure centers that respond to food or play. This is why dogs are often comforted by items that carry their owner's scent when they're alone. A worn t-shirt or blanket that smells like you can reduce anxiety and provide reassurance during separation. You're not physically present, but your scent signature is, and to a dog, that smell carries with it all the positive associations and emotions connected to your relationship. Dogs can also detect human emotions through scent. When we experience fear, stress, or anxiety, our bodies release different chemicals, including stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are excreted through our sweat and breath, creating detectable changes in our scent. Dogs can pick up on these changes, which is why they often seem to know when we're upset or anxious, even if we're trying to hide it. Our bodies betray our emotional state in a language written in molecules, and dogs are fluent readers of that language. The evolutionary advantage of such a powerful sense of smell is clear. For wild canines, the ability to detect prey from great distances, identify safe food sources, avoid predators, and navigate complex social structures all depend on olfactory information. Domestic dogs have retained and in some cases enhanced these abilities through selective breeding, creating specialists who can outperform even their wolf ancestors in specific scent detection tasks. Interestingly, different breeds have different scent capabilities, often correlated with their head and nose shape. Long-nosed breeds like bloodhounds, German shepherds, and retrievers typically have more room for olfactory tissue and are among the best scent trackers. Shorter-nosed breeds, especially brachycephalic breeds like pugs and bulldogs, may have somewhat reduced scent abilities because their compressed nasal structure doesn't provide as much surface area for olfactory tissue. However, even these breeds still dramatically outperform humans in scent detection. The relationship between a dog's nose and their overall well-being is direct and profound. Enrichment activities that engage their sense of smell, like scatter feeding, scent games, and nose work exercises, provide mental stimulation that can be as tiring and satisfying as physical exercise. Allowing a dog to fully explore their environment through scent, even if it means longer, slower walks where they can stop and sniff extensively, contributes to their happiness and reduces stress. We're letting them read their world's newspaper, and rushing them through this experience would be like having someone constantly turn the page before you finish reading. As you drift toward sleep tonight, imagine what it might be like to perceive the world primarily through scent. Every person with their own unique smell signature. Every place with its own olfactory identity. Every moment in time leaving its scent trace, creating an invisible historical record written in molecules. Dogs live in this rich, layered world, and understanding this helps us appreciate the depth of their sensory experience. The heart connection. There's something almost magical about the bond between humans and dogs, but what seems like magic is actually measurable biology. Scientists have discovered that when humans and dogs interact, something beautiful happens at the level of our cardiovascular and nervous systems. Our hearts and our dogs' hearts engage in a subtle, synchronized dance, and understanding this physiological connection helps explain why the presence of a dog can feel so calming, so right, so essential. Research conducted at the University of Jyväskylä in Finland involved studying 30 dog owners and their dogs simultaneously, measuring both species' heart rate variability during various activities. Heart rate variability, or HRV, is the variation in time between heartbeats. It's a crucial indicator of autonomic nervous system function. High heart rate variability is associated with relaxation, recovery, and a well-functioning stress response system. Low heart rate variability indicates stress, strain, or stimulation, like the state your body enters during an exam or intense physical activity. What the researchers discovered was remarkable. The heart rate variability of dogs and their owners synchronized during interaction. When the dog's HRV was high, indicating a relaxed state, the owner's HRV tended to be high as well. When one showed signs of stress or excitement reflected in lower HRV, the other often mirrored this state. The emotional and physiological states of both species were interconnected, adapting to each other in real time. This synchronization was most pronounced during periods of rest, when there were no specific tasks or external stimuli demanding attention. During these quiet moments, dogs and humans seemed to tune into each other's internal states, their autonomic nervous systems finding a shared rhythm. It's similar to the emotional synchronization seen between parents and children, a phenomenon that's essential for forming secure attachments. The same mechanisms that bond human families together also appear to strengthen the bond between dogs and their people. The physical act of petting a dog triggers measurable changes in both human and canine physiology. When you stroke a dog's fur, your blood pressure decreases. Your heart rate slows slightly. Your breathing may deepen and become more regular. These aren't subtle effects. They're significant enough to be measured in clinical settings and have been documented in numerous studies across different populations and circumstances. What's happening in your body during these gentle interactions? One key player is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. When you look into your dog's eyes, when you touch them, when you speak to them in that soft voice we all seem to instinctively use with animals we love, your brain releases oxytocin. This hormone triggers a cascade of effects throughout your body. It slows your heart rate. It reduces blood pressure. It inhibits the release of stress hormones like cortisol. It creates feelings of calm, comfort, and focus. But here's where it gets even more beautiful. Your dog's brain is also releasing oxytocin during these interactions. Their levels of this bonding hormone increase just as yours do, creating a mutual feedback loop of positive feelings. You're both experiencing the biological signature of bonding. Your body's essentially confirming to you that this connection is good, is safe, is important. Nature has created a biochemical reward system that encourages this cross-species relationship. Brain imaging studies have provided visual evidence of this connection. When dogs smell their owner's scent, the caudate nucleus, a region of the brain associated with reward processing and positive expectations, shows increased activity. This is the same region that activates when humans see loved ones or experience things that bring us joy. To a dog, your scent triggers joy at a neurological level, lighting up their brain like a small celebration. The cardiovascular benefits of dog ownership have been documented in numerous large-scale studies. Research following thousands of people over many years has found that dog owners have lower rates of death from heart attacks and strokes compared to non-dog owners. One Swedish study that tracked participants over 12 years found that dog owners had an 11% lower risk of death from any cause and a 15% lower risk of death from heart disease. For people who lived alone, having a dog was associated with even greater risk reduction. These benefits likely arise from multiple mechanisms working together. The daily physical activity involved in dog care, especially walking, provides regular cardiovascular exercise. The stress reduction from companionship and the oxytocin-mediated effects on blood pressure and heart rate create a more favorable cardiovascular environment. The social support that dogs provide, their consistent presence and unconditional regard, may buffer against the health impacts of loneliness and isolation. Studies specifically examining stress responses have found that people with dogs show smaller increases in heart rate and blood pressure when facing stressful situations compared to people without dogs. Even more interestingly, these stress response measures return to normal more quickly after the stressful event ends if a dog is present. The dog's presence seems to dampen the intensity of our stress reactions and speed our recovery from them, creating a more resilient stress response system overall. In clinical settings, therapy dogs have demonstrated measurable effects on patient outcomes. Heart failure patients who spent just 12 minutes with a therapy dog showed reduced blood pressure, lower heart rates, and decreased anxiety compared to control groups. These brief interactions produced significant physiological improvements, suggesting that the calming presence of a dog can complement medical treatments. The mechanism behind these calming effects appears to involve the autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary body functions including heart rate, blood pressure, and stress responses. This system has two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes rest, digestion, and recovery. Interaction with dogs seems to shift the balance toward parasympathetic dominance, creating a state of calm alertness rather than stressed activation. Interestingly, the breeds selected for cooperation with humans, such as herding dogs and retrievers, showed the strongest synchronization effects in studies. These breeds may be particularly attuned to human emotional and physiological states, a sensitivity that was likely enhanced through generations of selective breeding. They're not just physically present. They're actively reading and responding to our internal states in ways that create this remarkable physiological harmony. The personality traits of dog owners also influenced the strength of this connection. Owners who scored higher in measures of negative affectivity, meaning they tended to experience more worry or focus on negative events, often had stronger emotional bonds with their dogs and showed greater physiological synchronization. Their dogs seemed to provide a consistent source of safety and comfort that was particularly valuable given their temperamental tendencies. This connection isn't limited to trained therapy dogs or specific breeds. Regular pet dogs living in homes with their families show these same effects. The dog sleeping on your couch, the one who greets you at the door, the one whose presence has become such a normal part of your daily life that you might not even think about it consciously, is influencing your physiology in beneficial ways simply by being there. The act of petting a dog can lower stress hormone levels measurably. Studies measuring cortisol, the primary stress hormone, in people's saliva before and after spending time with dogs have found significant decreases following the interaction. This isn't just about feeling less stressed. It's about your body actually producing less of the chemicals that create and maintain the stress response. Dogs also seem to facilitate human social interactions, which has its own cardiovascular benefits. People walking dogs are more likely to have casual conversations with neighbors and strangers than people walking alone. These brief social connections, accumulated over time, contribute to a sense of community belonging and social support, both of which are associated with better health outcomes. The dog becomes a social catalyst, creating opportunities for human connection that might not otherwise occur. For children, growing up with dogs may provide cardiovascular and stress resilience benefits that extend into adulthood. Studies have found that children who interact regularly with dogs show more balanced stress responses and may develop stronger immune systems. The presence of a dog in the household creates opportunities for physical activity, outdoor time, and the kind of unconditional companionship that supports emotional development. As you relax into sleep, consider how this works. Your dog, resting nearby, their breathing slow and steady, your own breathing gradually matching that rhythm without conscious effort, your heart rates finding a common tempo, your nervous systems in quiet communication, each one signaling safety and calm to the other. This is the biology of companionship, written in the language of heartbeats and hormones, creating a shared state of peaceful rest. Tail wagging communication. A wagging tail seems like such a simple thing, a basic expression of happiness that even people who've never owned a dog understand intuitively. But the reality of tail wagging is far more complex and nuanced than this common belief suggests. Dogs have developed an entire vocabulary of tail movements, each variation carrying different meanings, and understanding this silent language opens up a new dimension of communication with our canine companions. The tail is an extension of the spine, containing vertebrae, muscles, and nerves that allow for precise control and movement. But the neurological mechanisms that control tail wagging are surprisingly sophisticated. The cerebellum, the part of the brain involved in coordinating movement and maintaining balance, plays a crucial role. Electrical stimulation of specific areas within the cerebellum can trigger or increase tail wagging, showing that this behavior is under direct brain control rather than being a simple reflexive response. What's particularly fascinating is that tail wagging shows brain lateralization, meaning the left and right hemispheres of the brain control different aspects of the behavior. The left hemisphere, which in both dogs and humans tends to be associated with approach behaviors and positive emotions, controls wagging movements to the right side of the body. The right hemisphere, associated with withdrawal behaviors and negative emotions, controls wagging to the left side. Research has demonstrated this beautifully. When dogs see their owners, their tails wag with a bias to the right side. When they encounter dominant or unfamiliar dogs, their tails wag more to the left. This isn't random. It's a direct expression of their emotional state encoded in the direction of the wag. The right-biased wag signals positive emotions and approach motivation. The left-biased wag signals uncertainty, stress, or a desire to withdraw. Other dogs can actually perceive and respond to these directional differences. Studies where dogs were shown videos of other dogs with digitally altered tail wags found that dogs viewing right-biased wags remained relaxed, while those viewing left-biased wags showed increased heart rates and signs of stress. They're reading the emotional content of the wag at a level that most humans don't even notice, responding to the subtle asymmetries that reveal what the other dog is truly feeling. The position of the tail while wagging adds another layer of meaning. A tail held high and wagging rapidly indicates excitement and confidence, possibly even dominance or assertiveness. A tail at medium height, roughly level with the spine, wagging in broad sweeps suggests a relaxed, friendly state. A tail held low while wagging slowly indicates uncertainty, submission, or cautious approach. A tail tucked tightly between the legs that still wags slightly signals fear or extreme submission, the dog trying to appear friendly while also displaying their lack of threat. The speed of the wag correlates with the level of arousal or excitement, though not necessarily the positive or negative quality of that emotion. A very fast wag can indicate intense happiness, like the greeting a dog gives their owner after a long absence. But it can also indicate high anxiety or conflict, the dog uncertain about a situation but unable to contain their emotional intensity. The speed tells you how strongly the dog feels, while other factors like position and direction tell you what they feel. The breadth of the wag, how wide the sweep of the tail is from side to side, provides information about whether the emotional state is positive or negative independent of arousal level. Broad wags, where the tail sweeps through a wide arc, generally indicate positive emotions. Narrow wags, where the tail barely moves side to side, suggest negative emotions or uncertainty. The broadest wags, where the tail sweeps so widely that the whole rear end of the dog wags along with it, represent pure joy, the dog unable to contain their happiness in just their tail. Some wags are so enthusiastic that they become circular, the tail rotating in small circles rather than moving side to side. This is often seen in dogs greeting their favorite people or anticipating something wonderful like dinner or a walk. The circular tail wag is a sign of extreme positive emotion. The dog so happy that their wagging has transcended the usual plane of movement. Different breeds have different baseline tail positions and different physical tail structures, which affects how their wags appear. Beagles naturally carry their tails high and vertical. Greyhounds and whippets tend to curl their tails under their bodies. Siberian Huskies and similar northern breeds curve their tails over their backs. When interpreting a tail wag, you need to understand that breed's normal, neutral tail position and read the wag relative to that baseline. Some breeds have tails that are naturally very short or tightly curled, like pugs and Boston Terriers. These dogs still wag, but the movement is much less visible than in dogs with long, loose tails. They haven't lost the instinct or the meaning behind the behavior, just some of the physical apparatus for expressing it clearly. Dogs reading these minimal wags seem to compensate, paying more attention to other body language signals to fill in the information a longer tail would provide. The evolutionary history of tail wagging is an interesting question that scientists are still exploring. Wolves and other wild canids do wag their tails, but observations suggest they do it less frequently than domestic dogs. One study that monitored multiple species over several years found that domestic dogs wagged their tails more than any other species. This increased frequency might be an outcome of domestication. Two hypotheses attempt to explain why domestication enhanced tail wagging. The first is the byproduct hypothesis, which suggests that tail wagging increased as an unintended consequence of selecting for other traits like docility and tameness. There's a well-documented phenomenon called domestication syndrome where selecting for behavioral traits like friendliness can trigger changes in neural crest cell development, which affects many physical features including tail shape and possibly tail wagging behavior. The second hypothesis is more intriguing. It suggests that humans might have directly selected for dogs who wag their tails more because we respond positively to rhythmic stimuli. Human brains are strongly attracted to rhythm, whether in music, dance, or visual patterns. A wagging tail is a rhythmic behavior, and it's possible that ancient humans, consciously or unconsciously, preferred and bred dogs who displayed more of this rhythmic tail communication. We found the behavior pleasing or reassuring, so we favored dogs who did it more. The communicative function of tail wagging is clear from observing when dogs choose to wag. Dogs seldom wag their tails when alone. Wagging is reserved for social situations where there's someone to communicate with, whether that someone is another dog, a human, a cat, or even an interesting object that seems alive like a ball blowing in the wind. The wag is a signal, and signals only make sense when there's someone to receive them. This social nature of tail wagging is similar to human smiling. We smile primarily in social contexts. Even when we're happy alone, we smile more often and more broadly when others can see us. Dogs have apparently developed tail wagging as their version of the smile, a visible signal of their emotional state that facilitates social interaction and relationship management. The tail's visibility has been enhanced by evolution and breeding. Many tails have white tips, dark tips, or color patterns that make the moving tail more visible against different backgrounds. Bushy tails, like those of huskies and similar breeds, create a larger visual signal that's easier to see from a distance. Since canine vision is particularly attuned to detecting movement rather than fine details or colors, a moving tail stands out clearly in their visual field. For dogs without tails, either naturally or due to docking, communication becomes more challenging. These dogs can still convey information through posture, ear position, facial expressions, and vocalizations, but they've lost an important communication tool. Studies have shown that dogs without tails often approach other dogs more cautiously, aware at some level that they're missing a key piece of their communication toolkit. Other dogs may also approach them more carefully, unable to read the tail signals they would normally use to assess another dog's intentions. The complexity of tail communication reflects the complexity of canine social lives. Dogs need to navigate interactions with family members, strangers, other dogs, and various other animals. They need to signal their intentions, their emotional states, their social status, and their willingness or unwillingness to engage. The tail, visible from a distance and capable of varied movement, has become one of their primary tools for managing these intricate social negotiations. As you settle deeper into relaxation, imagine the simple elegance of this communication system. A dog's feelings visible in the movement of their tail, joy expressed in broad, sweeping wags, uncertainty shown in slow, low movements. The whole emotional landscape of canine consciousness made visible through this flexible extension of the spine, moving through space, writing messages in motion that other dogs can read as clearly as we read words on a page. The gift of longevity. Every dog owner wishes their companion could live forever, but the reality is that dogs age faster than we do, their lives compressed into a time frame that always feels too short. Yet within this compressed timeline, some remarkable dogs have achieved lifespans that seem to stretch the boundaries of what's biologically possible. And understanding what factors contribute to a long dog life offers both scientific insight and a kind of comfort in knowing we can influence this journey. The verified record for the longest-lived dog belongs to Bluey, an Australian cattle dog from Australia who lived from 1910 to 1939, reaching an age of 29 years and 160 days. For context, this is roughly equivalent to 200 human years in terms of life experience. Bluey worked as a herding dog for most of his life, spending his days moving cattle and sheep across the Australian countryside. He lived on a farm, ate fresh food, and remained physically active throughout his life. These factors, combined with good genetics, allowed him to achieve this extraordinary longevspan. More recently, a Portuguese dog named Bobby, a Rafeiro do Alentejo, was reported to have reached 30 years of age, though this claim later faced scrutiny and the record was revoked. Regardless of the final verification, the story highlights how rare but possible extreme longevity in dogs can be. Both Bluey and Bobby shared similar lifestyles characterized by natural diets, regular physical activity, low stress, and strong bonds with their human families. The median age for dogs across all breeds and sizes is approximately 12.5 years, but this average masks enormous variation. Size is the single biggest predictor of lifespan in dogs, and the relationship goes in the opposite direction than it does in most other species. Generally, in nature, larger animals live longer than smaller ones. Elephants outlive mice, whales outlive fish, but in dogs, the reverse is true. Small dogs typically live longer than large dogs. Toy breeds like Chihuahuas, Yorkshire Terriers, and toy poodles often live 14 to 18 years, with some individuals reaching their early 20s. Medium breeds typically live 10 to 13 years. Large breeds like Labrador Retrievers and German Shepherds generally live 8 to 12 years. Giant breeds like Great Danes and Irish Wolfhounds often live only 7 to 10 years, with some facing health problems as early as 5 or 6 years old. The reasons for this size lifespan relationship in dogs are complex and not fully understood, but researchers have identified several contributing factors. Large dogs grow extremely rapidly during puppyhood, reaching adult size in a fraction of the time it takes small dogs. This accelerated growth may come with costs. Studies have found that large breed puppies show higher levels of oxidative DNA damage than small breed puppies, suggesting that their cells accumulate damage faster from the very beginning of life. Oxidative stress occurs when unstable molecules called free radicals damage cellular components, including DNA. This damage accumulates over time and is thought to be one of the fundamental mechanisms of aging. The fact that large dogs show more of this damage as puppies suggests that their accelerated growth rate overwhelms their DNA repair mechanisms, allowing damage to accumulate that will affect them throughout their lives. Large dogs also face increased mechanical stress on their bodies. Their hearts have to work harder to pump blood through larger bodies. Their joints carry more weight, leading to higher rates of arthritis and mobility problems. Their larger size may make them more susceptible to certain types of cancer, possibly because they have more cells and therefore more opportunities for those cells to undergo cancerous transformations. The genetic basis of dog aging is an active area of research. Scientists have discovered that DNA methylation patterns, a type of epigenetic change that affects how genes are expressed, differ between dogs and humans and change at different rates as both species age. These methylation patterns can be used to calculate a dog's biological age, which may differ from their chronological age depending on their health status and life experiences. Certain breeds within the same size category show different average lifespans, pointing to genetic factors beyond just size. Beagles, for example, tend to live longer than similarly sized breeds. Some lines of Labrador retrievers live significantly longer than others, and breeders have noted that longevity tends to run in families. This suggests that there are specific genetic variants that influence aging rate and susceptibility to age-related diseases, and responsible breeding programs are increasingly considering longevity as a selection criteria. Diet plays a crucial role in determining how long a dog lives. Dogs maintained at a healthy weight throughout their lives show significantly longer lifespans than overweight dogs. Obesity contributes to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, joint problems, and certain cancers, all of which can shorten life. Even being just 10 or 15% above ideal weight can take years off a dog's life. Interestingly, research from the Dog Aging Project, a large-scale study following tens of thousands of dogs, found that dogs fed once daily showed better health outcomes on average than dogs fed more frequently. Dogs on once-daily feeding schedules had fewer gastrointestinal, dental, kidney, and musculoskeletal disorders. The mechanism isn't entirely clear, but it may relate to allowing longer fasting periods that could trigger beneficial cellular maintenance processes. Exercise provides another lever to influence lifespan. Regular physical activity keeps muscles strong, joints mobile, and cardiovascular systems healthy. Mental stimulation through training, play, and environmental enrichment contributes to cognitive health, potentially delaying or preventing cognitive decline in senior dogs. Dogs with enriched, stimulating lives seem to maintain their mental acuity longer. Veterinary care has improved dramatically over the past few decades, contributing to increasing average lifespans for pet dogs. Regular checkups allow early detection of health problems when they're most treatable. Vaccinations prevent deadly infectious diseases. Parasite prevention protects against conditions that were once common causes of death or disability. Dental care, often overlooked, can add years to a dog's life by preventing the systemic infections that result from untreated dental disease. The emotional environment matters too. Chronic stress is bad for dogs just as it is for humans, potentially accelerating aging through the constant activation of stress response systems. Dogs living in stable, loving homes with consistent routines and strong bonds with their families seem to thrive. The security and emotional support they receive may have measurable effects on their health and longevity. Some of the oldest verified dogs in history include Taffy, a Welsh collie from the United Kingdom who lived 27 years and 211 days. Adjutant, a Labrador retriever from the UK, was featured in the 1966 Guinness Book of Records, having lived 27 years and 98 days, more than double his breed's typical lifespan. Pusuk, a Shiba Inu mix from Japan, reached 26 years and 8 months. Each of these exceptional individuals benefited from good care, good genetics, and likely some element of luck. What's particularly touching about these stories of longevity is that they remind us that each year with a dog is a gift, And maximizing those years is a collaboration between human and dog. We provide care, nutrition, and love. They provide companionship and joy. Together, we create a life that's as long and as rich as possible within the constraints of biology. The aging process in dogs follows a familiar pattern. Puppyhood's boundless energy gradually matures into the steady capability of adulthood. The adult years, often the longest phase, are characterized by peak physical and mental performance. Then, imperceptibly at first, the senior years begin. Gray hairs appear around the muzzle. Movement becomes a bit stiffer in the mornings. Sleep becomes deeper and longer. The senses may dull slightly, but the core of the dog, their personality, their bond with their human, typically remains strong even as the body ages. Different breeds enter their senior years at different ages. Giant breeds may be considered senior at 5 or 6. Large breeds around 7 or 8. Medium breeds around 8 or 9. Small breeds not until 9 to 11. These age ranges reflect the different pace of aging in different size dogs, with large dogs compressing their entire life arc into a shorter time frame. Senior dogs require different care than younger dogs, but they offer their own special rewards. Their calmer energy can be deeply soothing. Their long familiarity with their family creates a bond of profound understanding. They've shared so many experiences, learned each other's rhythms so completely, that communication becomes almost effortless. A look conveys volumes. A sigh speaks paragraphs. Many of the longest-lived dogs share certain characteristics beyond just good genetics and care. They tended to remain active and engaged throughout their lives, maintaining physical fitness and mental stimulation even in old age. They had strong bonds with their human families, providing and receiving emotional support. They ate natural, appropriate diets and maintained healthy weights. They lived relatively stress-free lives with consistent routines and safe environments. As research continues, we're learning more about the biological processes of aging and how they might be modified. The Dog Aging Project and similar initiatives are collecting data from thousands of dogs, looking for patterns that correlate with longer, healthier lives. This research may eventually lead to interventions that extend canine lifespan or improve the quality of life in senior dogs. But even without extraordinary longevity, every dog's life is valuable, complete, meaningful. Whether they live 8 years or 18, they fill those years with presence, with loyalty, with an enthusiasm for simple pleasures that humans often lose sight of. They remind us to find joy in walks, in meals, in rest, in companionship. They teach us about living fully in the present moment, about the importance of routine pleasures, about unconditional love. As sleep draws closer, think about the gift of time with dogs. Each day is precious, whether you're in the puppy months or the senior years. Each moment of connection, each walk, each quiet evening together, accumulates into a relationship that transcends the simple counting of days and years, cognitive abilities and intelligence. The question of canine intelligence has fascinated researchers for decades, and what we've learned challenges many assumptions while revealing capabilities that are in some ways remarkably human-like. Dogs aren't just trainable or obedient. They possess genuine cognitive abilities, the capacity for complex thought, memory, and social understanding that places them among the most mentally sophisticated animals we share our lives with. Word comprehension in dogs has been the subject of extensive research. The average dog can learn around 165 words or signals, though this number varies considerably by individual and by breed. Some dogs barely crack 50 words, while exceptional individuals have demonstrated vocabularies exceeding 300 words. These aren't just simple associations between sounds and actions. Research using brain imaging has shown that dogs form actual mental representations of the objects that words refer to. In studies where dogs were presented with words they'd been trained to recognize, while researchers showed them either the correct object or an incorrect object, brain activity differed depending on whether the object matched the word. This is called a semantic violation paradigm, and it demonstrates that dogs aren't just reacting to familiar sounds. They're actually processing the meaning of words, creating internal representations of what those words signify, much like humans do with language. Certain breeds and individual dogs show exceptional language abilities. A border collie named Chaser learned the names of over 1,000 individual objects, demonstrating not just vocabulary, but also the ability to learn new words through a process called fast mapping, where she could infer the name of a new object by exclusion. When asked to fetch an object with an unfamiliar name, she would choose the one object she didn't recognize, correctly inferring that the new name must refer to the new object. Rico, another border collie featured in scientific literature, demonstrated similar abilities, learning hundreds of words and showing he could remember them over periods of weeks and months. These exceptional dogs reveal the upper limits of canine cognitive capacity, though most dogs, even without extraordinary training, demonstrate impressive memory and learning abilities in their daily lives. Dogs show evidence of episodic-like memory, the ability to remember specific events from their past. While we can't know if their memories have the same subjective quality as human episodic memories, which include a sense of mentally traveling back to the time and place of the event, dogs clearly can remember what happened, where it happened, and when it happened. A dog who gets excited when you grab the leash isn't just responding to a learned cue. They're remembering all the previous pleasant walks associated with that leash and anticipating a similar experience. The social cognition of dogs is particularly remarkable. They've evolved to read and respond to human social cues in ways that even our closest primate relatives don't match. When a person points at something, dogs naturally look where the person is pointing rather than at the finger itself. This seems obvious to us because we're so accustomed to it, but it's actually a sophisticated cognitive achievement. Chimpanzees, despite being much more closely related to us genetically, don't spontaneously understand pointing the way dogs do. Dogs are also sensitive to the direction of human gaze. Studies have shown that dogs preferentially beg for food from people who are looking at them rather than people whose eyes are directed elsewhere. They recognize that attention is required for communication, that an unseen person won't respond to their requests. This is a theory of mind capability, understanding that others have different perceptual states than oneself. Research on dog cognition has revealed that they understand object permanence, the concept that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. They can track the movement of hidden objects, make inferences about where something has gone based on its trajectory, and show surprise when objects appear in unexpected locations. These abilities allow them to navigate their environment efficiently and solve problems involving hidden or displaced objects. Problem-solving abilities vary considerably among dogs, influenced by breed, individual personality, and past experience. Some dogs show remarkable persistence when faced with challenges, trying different approaches until they succeed. Others seek human assistance more readily, a strategy that may actually be quite intelligent given that humans are usually capable of solving problems that dogs cannot. There's evidence that the relationship between a dog and their owner influences their problem-solving approach. Dogs and companion relationships, where they're treated as family members and emotional partners, tend to look to their owners for help more quickly when facing difficult tasks. Working dogs, who have more independent relationships with their handlers, may persist longer in trying to solve problems on their own. Neither approach is better. They simply reflect different relationship styles and training histories. Emotional intelligence is another domain where dogs excel. They can recognize and respond appropriately to human emotions, showing comforting behaviors when people are upset and playful behaviors when people are happy. Brain imaging studies have found that dogs process emotional human vocalizations in their auditory cortex similarly to how humans process emotional sounds, suggesting parallel neural mechanisms for emotional processing. Dogs show behavioral signs consistent with empathy. When presented with the sound of a human crying versus humming or talking, dogs approached the crying person more often and showed behaviors like nuzzling and licking that seemed aimed at providing comfort. In one study, dogs approached a stranger who was crying rather than approaching their owner who was nearby, suggesting they weren't just seeking comfort for themselves but were responding to the other person's distress. The ability to learn from observation is well documented in dogs. They can learn new behaviors by watching other dogs or humans perform them, a process called social learning. Puppies learn appropriate play behavior by watching older dogs. Dogs can learn where food is hidden by watching where another dog goes. They can even learn to open doors, operate simple mechanisms, or navigate obstacles by watching demonstrations. Breed differences in cognitive abilities exist, though individual variation within breeds is substantial. Herding breeds like Border Collies and Australian Shepherds tend to score high on tests of trainability and working intelligence. Terriers show persistence and independent problem-solving. Retrievers excel at tasks involving memory and retrieving objects. Hounds rely heavily on their phenomenal scenting abilities to solve problems that other dogs might approach differently. The concept of dog personality has been studied extensively. Dogs show consistent individual differences in traits like boldness, sociability, trainability, and reactivity to novelty. These personality traits remain relatively stable over time and influence how dogs interact with their environment and with people. Understanding a dog's personality helps predict how they'll respond to different situations and what training approaches will work best. Recent research suggests that around 40% of the variation in some social skills in puppies can be explained by genetics. Traits like the tendency to make eye contact with humans, the willingness to follow pointing cues, and general biddability have significant heritable components. This means that selective breeding influences not just physical traits but also cognitive and behavioral traits, shaping the minds of dogs as much as their bodies. Intelligence in dogs isn't a single unified trait. A dog might excel at scent work but struggle with learning commands. Another might be brilliant at reading human emotions but less interested in problem solving. Multiple intelligences exist in dogs just as they do in humans, and a dog's overall cognitive profile is a unique combination of strengths and weaknesses shaped by genetics, early experience, training, and the relationship with their human family. The capacity for self-control has been measured in dogs using tests similar to the famous marshmallow test used with children. Dogs who show greater self-control, the ability to wait for a better reward rather than taking an immediate smaller reward, tend to perform better on other cognitive tasks and may have generally better executive function. This self-control can be improved through training, suggesting it's not entirely fixed but can be developed. Dogs engage in play throughout their lives, not just as puppies, and play behavior demonstrates cognitive sophistication. They use play bows and other signals to communicate this is play, distinguishing play fighting from real aggression. They adjust the intensity of their play based on their partner's size and preferences. They show signs of fairness, giving and taking turns, adjusting their behavior to keep play going rather than dominating completely. The cognitive aging process in dogs mirrors, in some ways, the cognitive aging in humans. Senior dogs may show signs of cognitive dysfunction syndrome, with symptoms including disorientation, changes in sleep-wake cycles, house soiling, and reduced interaction with family members. However, many dogs maintain good cognitive function well into old age, especially when they've been kept mentally active throughout their lives. Environmental enrichment and mental stimulation appear to support cognitive health in dogs. Activities that challenge their minds, whether through training new tricks, playing scent games, or providing puzzle feeders, may help maintain neural plasticity and cognitive function. The idea is similar to the use it or lose it principle that applies to human cognition. As you drift further towards sleep, imagine the complexity of the canine mind. The memories stored there, each walk, each game, each quiet moment together. The understanding they've developed of your routines, your moods, your preferences. The vocabulary they've built, connecting sounds to meanings, creating a bridge between your world and theirs. Behind those expressive eyes is a genuine thinker, a learner, a being capable of true cognition. The ancient bond. The relationship between humans and dogs reaches back through time further than almost any other human-animal partnership. To understand dogs, we must understand this shared history, the long path of coevolution that has shaped both species and created a bond unlike any other in nature. Archaeological evidence suggests that dogs were the first animals domesticated by humans, with the process beginning somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, though the exact timing and location remain subjects of scientific debate. Genetic studies comparing dogs to wolves indicate they diverged from a common ancestor during this period, with dogs evolving separately as they adapted to life alongside humans. The earliest dog remains found at archaeological sites show animals that already differed from wolves in subtle ways. Smaller teeth, shorter snouts, and variations in skull shape suggest that domestication was already well underway. These ancient dogs lived in human settlements, shared human food, and likely formed the same kinds of bonds with their human families that dogs form with us today. How this domestication occurred is a question that fascinates researchers. The two main hypotheses are self-domestication and human-directed domestication. The self-domestication hypothesis suggests that wolves began hanging around human settlements to scavenge food scraps. The bolder, less fearful wolves who could approach humans more closely had better access to this food source and therefore higher survival and reproduction rates. Over generations, these proto-dogs became progressively tamer and more comfortable around humans. The human-directed domestication hypothesis suggests that ancient humans actively captured and bred wolves, selecting for traits like tameness, trainability, and useful working behaviors. Perhaps hunters recognized that some wolves could be trained to help with hunting or to alert them to dangers. Perhaps people simply enjoyed the companionship and chose to keep and breed the most tractable individuals. The truth likely involves elements of both processes. Initial attraction to human settlements might have been self-directed by wolves seeking food, but humans then began actively selecting and breeding the animals that showed the most useful or appealing traits. The partnership deepened over generations, each species becoming more valuable to the other. Famous experiments with silver foxes in Russia, begun in the 1950s and continuing today, demonstrate how quickly domestication can change an animal. By selectively breeding only the tamest foxes in each generation, researchers produced animals that within just a few decades showed dog-like behaviors, including tail wagging, licking humans, and seeking attention. Physical changes accompanied the behavioral ones, including floppy ears, curled tails, and piebald coat coloring. These changes, collectively called domestication syndrome, suggest that selecting for tameness triggers broader genetic and developmental changes affecting many traits. Dogs likely underwent a similar process, with ancient humans selecting for behavioral traits that inadvertently brought along physical changes. The diversity of dog breeds we see today resulted from continued selective breeding, with humans eventually creating specialized forms for different functions. Herding dogs, hunting dogs, guard dogs, and companion dogs, each optimized for specific tasks but all descended from those first domesticated wolves. The genetic changes that distinguish dogs from wolves include alterations in genes involved in brain development, behavior, and digestion. Dogs have evolved the ability to digest starches more efficiently than wolves, adapting to a diet rich in human food scraps that would have included grains and other plant materials. Changes in genes related to social bonding and fear response helped create animals capable of forming close attachments to humans and tolerating the strange, noisy, crowded environment of human settlements. Throughout human history, dogs have held special places in virtually every culture. Ancient Egyptian art depicts dogs as hunting companions and pets. Greek and Roman writings discuss dogs, their breeds, their uses, and their loyal nature. Asian cultures developed distinctive breeds and incorporated dogs into folklore and spiritual traditions. Indigenous peoples across the Americas had dogs before European contact, using them as pack animals, hunting helpers, and companions. Dogs appear in mythology and religion across cultures. Anubis, the jackal-headed Egyptian god, guided souls to the afterlife. Cerberus guarded the gates of Hades in Greek mythology. Dogs are mentioned in the Bible, the Quran, and countless cultural stories. They've been symbols of loyalty, protection, guidance, and faithful service for as long as humans have been telling stories. The working roles of dogs expanded as human civilization developed. Herding breeds helped manage livestock, enabling the agricultural revolution. Hunting breeds assisted in providing food and controlling pests. Guard dogs protected property and people. Sled dogs enabled transportation and survival in Arctic regions. Water dogs helped fishermen retrieve nets and save drowning people. Every human innovation seemed to find a role for dogs. In modern times, the working roles continue to evolve. Service dogs assist people with disabilities, providing independence and safety. Therapy dogs provide comfort in hospitals, schools, and disaster areas. Detection dogs find explosives, drugs, agricultural pests, and even diseases. Search and rescue dogs save lives after disasters. Police and military dogs protect and serve. The adaptability of dogs to new tasks demonstrates their cognitive flexibility and their continued value to human society. But beyond all these practical roles, dogs have become family. The majority of dogs in developed countries today are primarily companions, beloved family members whose main job is simply to be present, to share our lives, to give and receive affection. This role is perhaps the culmination of the ancient bond, the fulfillment of whatever impulse made ancient humans and ancient wolves decide to try living together. The coevolution of dogs and humans has left marks on both species. Humans evolved in the presence of dogs, with some researchers suggesting that having dogs as hunting companions and guards may have provided advantages that shaped human evolution. Dogs certainly evolved in response to human selection pressure, developing abilities and traits specifically adapted to life with humans. One of the most striking examples of this adaptation is the oxytocin response system in dogs. When dogs and humans look into each other's eyes, both species experience increased oxytocin levels, the same neurochemical response that bonds mothers to infants. This shared biological response creates a mutual bonding mechanism that transcends the species barrier. We're literally designed, through thousands of generations of living together, to bond with each other. Dogs have also developed facial muscles that wolves lack, specifically muscles that allow them to raise their inner eyebrows, creating what researchers call puppy dog eyes. This expression triggers nurturing responses in humans, making dogs appear more infant-like and appealing. It's a feature that likely evolved because humans responded positively to it, keeping and breeding dogs who could make this expression more readily. The ability of dogs to read human communicative cues, from pointing to gaze direction to emotional expressions, represents another adaptation to life with humans. While wolves can learn some of these skills, dogs seem to have an innate predisposition to attend to human communication that appears very early in development, even before extensive learning has occurred. Puppies as young as a few weeks old will follow human pointing, suggesting this ability is at least partially hardwired. Throughout history, dogs have been there at key moments. They accompanied humans across the Bering Land Bridge to the Americas. They were present at the development of agriculture. They participated in the expansion of civilizations. They've been in cities and farms, palaces and hovels, on ships and in airplanes, part of nearly every human endeavor. The impact goes both ways. Human cultures have been shaped by dogs. Our languages contain countless dog-related idioms and expressions. Our literature, art, and media are filled with dogs as characters and symbols. Many people's fondest childhood memories involve a dog. The presence of dogs influences architecture, the doghouse, the dog door, industry, the enormous pet care sector, and daily routines, walking schedules, feeding times. This 10,000-year partnership has created a relationship unique in nature. No other animal has become so integrated into human society while maintaining its own species identity. Cats are domesticated but remain more independent. Horses and cattle are domesticated but kept primarily for work or food. Dogs alone have achieved the status of full family member. This position of beloved companion with no expectation beyond companionship itself. The future of the human-dog bond looks secure. Dogs continue to be bred, adopted, loved, and integrated into families worldwide. New technologies allow us to better understand their health needs, their cognitive abilities, and their welfare requirements. Research continues to reveal the depth and complexity of their minds and the benefits they provide to human well-being. As you relax into deeper rest, feel the weight of all this history. 10,000 years of companionship flowing through the relationship between you and any dog you've known. You're part of an ancient tradition, a partnership written into the very genetics of both species. A bond that has endured through all the changes of human civilization. Physical marvels. Beyond the senses we've already explored, dogs possess an array of physical capabilities that allow them to navigate and interact with the world in ways that complement and exceed human abilities. Understanding these physical marvels helps us appreciate just how remarkable these creatures are, even in the simple act of being a dog. A dog's hearing is extraordinary, capable of detecting sounds at frequencies and volumes humans cannot perceive. While human hearing typically extends to around 20,000 hertz, dogs can hear up to 45,000 hertz and sometimes even higher. This means they detect ultrasonic sounds completely outside our perceptual range. The high-pitched squeak of a mouse, the ultrasonic calls of bats, the electronic hum of devices we never notice, all are audible to dogs. Not only can dogs hear higher frequencies, but they can also hear sounds that are much quieter than the threshold of human hearing. A dog can detect a sound from 4 times farther away than a human can. Where you might hear a car approaching from a block away, your dog heard it from 4 blocks away. This extended range gives them an early warning system for approaching people, animals, or vehicles. The structure of a dog's ears contributes to these remarkable abilities. They have 15 different muscles controlling each ear, allowing them to move their ears independently in different directions, swiveling to pinpoint the source of a sound with precision. This directional hearing lets them triangulate the location of sounds, building a detailed acoustic map of their surroundings. Different ear shapes provide different acoustic properties. Erect ears like those of German Shepherds or Belgian Malinois act like satellite dishes, gathering and focusing sound waves. Floppy ears like those of beagles or bloodhounds may slightly dampen sound reception but still provide excellent hearing. Dogs have been bred with various ear shapes primarily for appearance or for working purposes unrelated to hearing, but their underlying auditory capabilities remain impressive across all breeds. Vision in dogs differs from human vision in interesting ways. While human vision is excellent at detecting detail and color, dog vision is optimized for detecting movement and seeing in low light. Dogs are not colorblind, as is sometimes claimed, but they see color differently than we do. They have 2 types of color receptors where humans have 3, giving them dichromatic vision similar to a human with red-green color blindness. They see blues and yellows well, but have difficulty distinguishing reds and greens, which may appear as shades of yellow, brown, or gray. However, what dogs lack in color discrimination they make up for in other visual capabilities. They have a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum behind their retinas that reflects light back through the retina, giving the photoreceptors a second chance to capture it. This is what makes dogs' eyes appear to glow when light shines on them in darkness. It also dramatically improves their night vision, allowing them to see in light levels that would leave humans effectively blind. Dogs' eyes are positioned more laterally on their heads than human eyes, giving them a wider field of view. Where humans have roughly 180 degrees of vision, dogs have around 250 degrees, varying somewhat by breed and head shape. This wider field of view helps them detect movement in their peripheral vision, a useful trait for both predators and prey animals. The flicker fusion rate, which is how fast something must flash before it appears to be continuous rather than flickering, is higher in dogs than in humans. Old televisions with slower refresh rates may have appeared to flicker to dogs while looking smooth to us. Modern high-resolution screens have eliminated this issue, but it demonstrates that dogs perceive visual time differently, processing visual information at a slightly faster rate than humans. Temperature regulation in dogs operates differently than in humans because dogs can't sweat through their skin like we do. They have some sweat glands in their paw pads, but these aren't sufficient for cooling the whole body. Instead, dogs cool themselves primarily through panting, a rapid breathing pattern that increases evaporation from the tongue, mouth, and respiratory tract. An efficiently panting dog can move air in and out of their lungs many times per minute, creating significant cooling through evaporation. This cooling system is less efficient than sweating, which is why dogs are more susceptible to overheating than humans. Breeds with short noses, called brachycephalic breeds, have even more difficulty with temperature regulation because their compressed airways don't allow as efficient air exchange during panting. This is why dogs need access to shade, water, and cool environments during hot weather, and why exercising dogs in heat requires caution. On the other hand, many dogs have remarkable cold tolerance. Breeds developed in northern climates have thick double coats with a dense undercoat for insulation and a water-resistant outer coat. Breeds like Siberian Huskies, Alaskan Malamutes, and Samoyeds can comfortably tolerate temperatures that would quickly cause hypothermia in humans. Their feet are specially adapted with blood vessels arranged in a countercurrent heat exchange system that pre-warms blood returning from the cold paws, preventing heat loss and allowing them to walk on snow and ice without discomfort. The athleticism of dogs varies enormously by breed, but even average dogs possess impressive physical capabilities. A fit dog can run at speeds up to 20 to 30 miles per hour, with some breeds like greyhounds reaching up to 45 miles per hour in short sprints. They can maintain a steady trot for miles, their efficient gait covering ground with minimal energy expenditure. Dogs are excellent jumpers, with some individuals clearing barriers several times their own height. Agility dogs navigate complex courses involving jumps, tunnels, weaves, and other obstacles at impressive speeds, demonstrating coordination, body awareness, and the ability to respond to handler cues while in rapid motion. Swimming ability varies by breed, with some dogs being natural swimmers with water-resistant coats and webbed feet, while others have body proportions that make swimming difficult or impossible. Newfoundlands and Portuguese water dogs were specifically bred for water work and are powerful, tireless swimmers. Bulldogs and dachshunds, with their heavy fronts and short legs, may struggle to keep their heads above water and should be carefully supervised around water. The flexibility and range of motion in dogs allows them to contort into positions that would be impossible for humans. The classic dog sleeping position with all four legs in the air, belly exposed, requires hip and shoulder flexibility that most adult humans don't possess. The ability to curl into a tight ball with the nose tucked into the tail for warmth demonstrates impressive spinal flexibility. Dogs' bones are proportionally stronger than human bones, capable of withstanding the impacts of jumping and running that their active lifestyles require. Their joints are structured for different movements than human joints, allowing them to gallop, bound, and turn with agility that humans can't match. However, these same joints can be vulnerable to injury and degradation, especially in breeds with extreme body proportions that create mechanical stress. The dog's mouth is a marvel of power and control. Bite force varies by breed and size, with large breeds like Mastiffs and Rottweilers capable of exerting over 300 pounds of pressure per square inch. Yet these same mouths can gently pick up eggs or carry puppies without leaving a mark, demonstrating incredible control and sensitivity. Dogs have around 1,700 taste buds compared to humans' 9,000, which is why they're less discriminating about food flavors than we are. Their taste buds can detect sweet, sour, salty, and bitter flavors, though they may have fewer receptors for some tastes than humans do. However, the overwhelming role of smell in food appreciation means that dogs primarily taste with their noses, and what might seem bland to us based on taste alone may be incredibly rich and complex to them based on smell. The versatility of dogs' physical forms is remarkable. Through selective breeding, humans have created dogs ranging from Chihuahuas, weighing 2 pounds, to English Mastiffs exceeding 200 pounds, an 80-fold size range within a single species. Different breeds have been optimized for different physical tasks, from the low-slung bodies of dachshunds designed for going into burrows, to the powerful jaws of terriers bred for dispatching vermin, to the long legs and deep chests of sighthounds built for speed. Each of these physical specializations comes with trade-offs. Breeds selected for extreme features may face health challenges related to those features. Responsibility in breeding means balancing functional ability with health and welfare, maintaining dogs who can live comfortable, active lives in the modern world rather than just achieving an extreme physical ideal. As your consciousness drifts toward the peace of sleep, appreciate the elegant functionality of the dog's body. Each sense tuned to detect what matters in a dog's world. Each physical capability adapted for the ways dogs live and move. The result is a creature beautifully designed for their ecological niche, for the work they've been bred to do, and for the partnership with humans that has shaped their very form. Emotional and social lives. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of dogs, the quality that creates the deepest bonds with humans, is their emotional and social nature. Dogs aren't just intelligent and physically capable. They're emotional beings with rich inner lives, capable of forming deep attachments, experiencing joy and sorrow, and navigating complex social relationships. The attachment that dogs form with their human families has been studied using experimental paradigms developed for human infants. In the strange situation test, infants are observed as their mothers leave them in an unfamiliar room, then return. Securely attached infants show distress at separation but are quickly comforted by the mother's return. Dogs tested with their owners show remarkably similar patterns. They become distressed when the owner leaves, show reduced stress when the owner returns, and use the owner as a secure base from which to explore unfamiliar environments. This attachment behavior suggests that dogs form emotional bonds with their people that are functionally similar to the bonds between children and parents. The dog sees their owner as a source of security, comfort, and support, returning to them for reassurance when uncertain or afraid, just as a child returns to a parent. Research measuring oxytocin levels before and after human-dog interaction has found that both species show increases in this bonding hormone when they interact, especially during mutual gazing where the dog and human look into each other's eyes. This hormonal response is the same mechanism that bonds mothers to infants, and its presence in the human-dog relationship suggests we've co-opted an ancient mammalian bonding system to create cross-species attachments. The joy that dogs experience is visible and infectious. Watch a dog greeting their person after a separation. The whole body wagging, the play bows, the spinning in circles, the pure expression of happiness at reunion. This isn't learned behavior or simple conditioning. It's genuine emotional experience, the dog's delight at the return of someone important to them. Dogs engage in play throughout their lives, not just as puppies, and play behavior is closely linked to positive emotions. The play bow, where a dog lowers their front end while keeping their rear end up, is a universal signal that means this is play, not serious. Dogs use this signal to initiate games and to reassure playmates that rough behavior is meant in fun. The existence of these metacommunicative signals shows that dogs understand the difference between play and reality, can communicate about that distinction, and actively maintain the play frame to keep interactions positive. Play between dogs involves turn-taking, self-handicapping where larger or more dominant dogs allow smaller or subordinate dogs to win sometimes, and role reversals where chaser becomes chased and pursuer becomes pursued. These behaviors suggest an implicit fairness or reciprocity in dog play, a recognition that keeping the game fun for both participants is important for maintaining the interaction. Dogs can experience anxiety and fear, emotions that, while unpleasant, serve important survival functions. Fear helps dogs avoid genuine dangers. Anxiety in response to separation alerts them that they're away from their secure base and motivates them to seek reunion. But when these emotions become excessive or chronic, they interfere with well-being and quality of life. Separation anxiety, where dogs experience extreme distress when separated from their attachment figures, is a relatively common behavioral issue. Dogs with separation anxiety may engage in destructive behavior, excessive vocalization, house soiling, or self-harm when left alone. These aren't signs of spite or bad behavior. They're symptoms of genuine panic and distress, the dog's emotions overwhelming their ability to cope. Treatment for separation anxiety typically involves gradual desensitization to separation, building the dog's tolerance for brief absences and slowly extending the duration. Creating positive associations with the owner's departure and providing enrichment and comfort items can help. In severe cases, medications may be necessary to reduce the anxiety enough that behavioral modification can proceed. Dogs can also experience grief. When a bonded companion, whether human or animal, dies, dogs often show behavioral changes consistent with grief. They may search for the lost individual, show reduced activity and appetite, sleep more or less than usual, and display signs of depression. These responses typically resolve over time, though some dogs seem to carry the loss with them, permanently altered by the absence of someone important. The capacity for empathy in dogs has been demonstrated in various studies. Dogs respond to human distress with comforting behaviors, approaching crying people and showing affiliative behaviors like licking, nuzzling, and gentle contact. When given the choice between approaching their owner who is calm or a stranger who is crying, many dogs choose the stranger, suggesting they're responding to distress itself rather than just seeking comfort from a familiar person. Dogs seem to be able to catch human emotions, a phenomenon called emotional contagion. When humans around them are stressed or anxious, dogs often become stressed or anxious too. When their people are relaxed and happy, dogs tend to mirror that state. This emotional mirroring helps explain why dogs are so effective at providing emotional support. They don't just respond to our feelings, they share them to some degree. The social structures of domestic dogs are influenced by their wolf heritage but modified by life with humans. In the wild, wolves typically live in family groups consisting of a breeding pair and their offspring from multiple years. These packs are organized but not through constant fighting for dominance. Instead, they're family units where parents lead and children follow, with relationships based more on affection and cooperation than on dominance and submission. The outdated dominance theory that portrayed wolf packs as constantly fighting for alpha status has been thoroughly discredited by modern wolf research. Wild wolf packs are cooperative families, and modern understanding of dog behavior has moved away from dominance-based training toward positive reinforcement methods that build cooperation and trust rather than trying to assert dominance. When dogs live in multi-dog households, they develop their own social structures, but these are context-dependent and fluid rather than rigid hierarchies. A dog might defer to another dog over a favored toy but insist on priority access to a preferred sleeping spot. These relationships are negotiated through communication and generally maintained peacefully through subtle signals rather than overt conflict. Dogs show preferences for certain individuals, both human and canine, and these preferences seem to be based on positive experiences and compatible personalities. A dog might adore one family member while being neutral toward another, or form a tight bond with one dog at the dog park while avoiding others. These preferences demonstrate that dogs make social decisions based on their experiences and feelings about specific individuals. The ability to read and respond to human emotional states gives dogs their therapeutic value. Therapy dogs visiting hospitals, schools, nursing homes, and other facilities provide measurable benefits to the people they interact with. Blood pressure decreases, stress hormones drop, mood improves, and in some cases, even pain perception is reduced. The dog's calm, accepting presence creates a space where people can relax and experience positive emotions. For children, growing up with dogs may provide opportunities to develop empathy and caregiving skills. Learning to recognize a dog's needs, to respond to their communications, and to provide appropriate care teaches responsibility and perspective-taking. The relationship offers a safe context for experiencing and processing emotions like love, loss, and the complexities of caring for another being. Dogs remember kindness and mistreatment. A dog who has been well treated typically approaches life with confidence and trust, while a dog with a history of abuse or neglect may carry fear and wariness that takes patient, consistent positive experiences to overcome. This emotional memory underscores the importance of treating dogs well, of being the person they believe us to be. The loyalty of dogs is legendary and largely accurate. Dogs form deep, enduring attachments to their people that persist through time and distance. Stories of dogs waiting for deceased owners, traveling vast distances to find their way home, or protecting their people in dangerous situations are numerous and well documented. This loyalty isn't blind or unthinking. It's the expression of a genuine emotional bond. As sleep draws very near now, let your mind rest on the emotional richness of dogs, their capacity for joy in simple things. A good meal, a comfortable spot, the presence of someone they love. Their ability to give and receive affection freely, without the complications and hesitations that often characterize human relationships. The pure form of love they offer, unconditional and constant. A daily gift that asks only for care and companionship in return. The dog asleep nearby, if you have one, or the dog you remember, or the dog you imagine, is not a simple creature. They are complex emotional beings, capable of deep feeling, capable of forming bonds that matter as much to them as our bonds matter to us. They experience the world through different senses, process information through different neural pathways, but arrive at a destination we recognize: connection, love, belonging. In domesticating dogs, we didn't create biological robots or simple tools. We created companions with whom we could share our lives in a meaningful way. They've given us thousands of years of loyalty, service, and love. In return, we've given them food, shelter, care, and affection. It's a partnership that has worked because it meets genuine needs on both sides, because the benefits flow in both directions, because the relationship itself has become valuable beyond any practical purpose. As you finally surrender to sleep, let the knowledge of all these things about dogs create a foundation of peace beneath you. The science and the sentiment together paint a picture of creatures who are remarkable in their capabilities, beautiful in their adaptations, and precious in their companionship. Every dog that has ever lived, from those first wolves who chose to approach human campfires to the beloved companions in millions of homes today, has been part of this grand, ancient partnership. Their sleep cycles will carry them through dreams we can only imagine. Their extraordinary noses will detect scents even while unconscious, part of their awareness never quite shutting down. Their hearts will beat in that steady rhythm that can synchronize with ours, creating a biological harmony that speaks to how deeply connected our species have become. Their memories will hold all the experiences of their lives, every walk, every meal, every moment of affection, woven together into the continuous thread of their existence. And in the morning, they'll wake as they always do, ready to begin another day, living fully in the present moment, greeting the new day with enthusiasm and the unshakable conviction that life is good, that their people are wonderful, that there are interesting smells to investigate and perhaps a walk to be taken and certainly food to be enjoyed, and always, always the simple pleasure of being together. The wisdom dogs carry is simple but profound. They understand that each moment deserves full attention. When eating, eat completely, savoring each bite. When resting, rest fully, surrendering to the peace of stillness. When playing, play with total abandon, throwing yourself into joy without reservation or self-consciousness. When loving, love without holding back, without fear of vulnerability, without calculating whether you'll receive equal measure in return. This is the gift dogs offer us beyond their practical services, beyond even their companionship. They model a way of being that humans often lose sight of in our complex, forward-thinking, anxious lives. Dogs bring us back to the present, back to the simple pleasures, back to the immediate experience of living rather than the endless planning and worrying about living. But for now, sleep. Let these gentle facts about dogs carry you into rest. Let the image of a sleeping dog, peaceful and secure, guide your own descent into peaceful sleep. You've traveled through the science of these remarkable creatures, understood their senses, their minds, their hearts, their history. You've glimpsed the depth and beauty of the human-dog bond, written in biology and chemistry, in genetics and behavior, in 10,000 years of shared evolution. Sleep now, comfortable in the knowledge that dogs are out there in the world, living their dog lives, bringing joy and comfort to their human families, fulfilling their roles as companions and friends. Sleep knowing that the relationship between humans and dogs is one of nature's most successful partnerships, a collaboration that has enriched both species beyond measure. Thank you for joining us on this peaceful exploration of the remarkable world of dogs. If you enjoyed this gentle journey through canine science and found it helpful for relaxation and sleep, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more soothing science stories designed to help you rest. Sweet dreams, and may your sleep be as peaceful as a dog's. Content in the moment, secure in connection, deeply and completely at rest.